Hello everybody, what's up? Oh yeah. So this is my 163rd, I believe. Doesn't matter. Prediction video. So starting up with Saturday's fights. Sorry. Well, let's first take Team Tszyu versus Terrell Gausha. That's a very interesting matchup, I believe. And Team Tszyu, the son of great Kostya, he has undefeated at 20-0. He scored 15 knockouts. So, yeah, he has defeated Takeshi Inoue in his last fight, which was probably his best win so far. He's also stopped Dennis Hogan and Jeff Horn. Yeah. And Terrell Gausha has got 2 losses, but he hasn't been stopped yet. 22, 2 and 1 with 11 knockouts. This is in the super welterweight division, of course. And Gausha's last loss was to Erickson Lubin, and before that was to Arislandi Lara. So it's not really nothing to be ashamed of course. Um, yeah, in his last fight, he stopped Jamonte Clark in 2 rounds. Well, I haven't seen that much of Gausha, but he also has a split draw against Austin Trout. So, what's curious about him, he doesn't have that many knockouts, but he has scored some, like first round knockout versus Joey Hernandez. And yeah. As I said, he stopped Jamonte Clark, who is not really a bad fighter. He's very tall for this division. He stopped him in 2 rounds. Shit. So, yeah. Mm, just a second. Yeah, just a second. So, yeah, sorry about that. Yeah, of course, this fight is in Gausha's territory in USA, and and Tszyu is still relatively untested, but what I have seen of him so far was impressive, definitely. So he's like 5'8" and a half, and Gausha is 5'10", and has also a 2 inch or 1.5 inch reach advantage, Terrell. So, but I don't think that will matter very much. Um, Yeah, I mean, Tszyu is mostly a guy who wins, by breaking down his opponents, stopping them. He's got considerable punching power, and while Terrell Gausha is more like a guy who, takes it as it comes. If he sees that an opponent is, not that easy to catch, and he will box rather than slug, and if he sees that he can't score a knockout, then he will go for a knockout. So, but I don't think this will be easy, of course, for him in any way. Tim is really like, I mean, just considering it doesn't really mean that much who his father is, because it doesn't always, very often in boxing, sons. If a father was really great, then son will often be at least not great, but maybe just good. And this fight will really show, I believe, how good Team Tszyu is. Um, but yeah, I think If it goes the distance, which is likely that it will happen, then it can go either way, of course. But I still believe that since Terrell Gausha hasn't really scored a really significant victory yet, then most likely Team Tszyu will win. Or I can even see him stopping Gausha, but not early anyway. Somewhere after, the eighth round, between the seventh and 12th. Anyway, yeah. All right. So that was finally wow. That one took a long time. All right. Next one, Miguel Berchelt is coming back from his uh, loss that happened actually over a year ago to Oscar Valdez when he was knocked out in the 10th round. So that was a pretty, devastating loss for him. Also because he had reigned as the WBC super featherweight champion for a long time, and now he's fighting a guy called Jeremia Nakathila from Namibia. So he's still a super featherweight, Berchelt, so that's known. Nakathila has only two losses, and one of them was to Shakur Stevenson, of course, now one of the brightest new stars in that division. Yeah. So this guy seems to have, a hard punch. Nakathila has got scored 18 knockouts of 22 possible so far. um, so yeah, but he's kind of getting on in age. At 32, he's not really that young. Maybe. While for Berchelt, he'll be looking at, simply re-establishing himself as an elite level fighter, and yeah, I mean, he's rather tall for a super featherweight at 5'7". It doesn't say how tall Nakathila is, but I assume he's probably not much taller anyway, or shorter, or the same height. Doesn't matter. Yeah, so if Berchelt now he hasn't fought for a year, so that will may affect his performance, of course, but maybe not. Um, and the fact that he was knocked out so late, that can also sometimes or often damage a fighter, of course. Uh, so yeah, I don't know really. I still think he will most likely stop this guy Nakathila because, or actually, Nakathila hasn't yet been stopped, so maybe not. And he fought Shakur Stevenson, who can hit pretty hard. Also, he's not really like the hardest hitter, maybe at 130, but he's definitely got power. So I don't know. Maybe it would be safer to say that Berchelt wins on the points. All right, and then the big fight in Europe. Yeah, in Leeds actually. Yeah, go Leeds. Yeah. Josh Warrington returning against Kiko Martinez. And this is the first defense for Martinez of his IBF featherweight title that he so surprisingly won by a stoppage in sixth round against Kid Galahad in last November. Yeah, Josh Warrington, you really don't know how much where you got him, like how much there is left of him after his brutal first loss to Mauricio Lara, and then the fight that ended way too soon, the rematch in September. But he was also there. He looked like he was, starting to get hurt by Lara before that sudden stoppage, which we all really hated to see happen, of course. But we really wanted to see what, if Warrington was able to bounce back and avenge that loss. But yeah, I mean, this is another rather dangerous fight, I would say, for him because even though he's got the youth, the height, the speed, the energy, that stamina. I mean, on Kiko, he we've seen how dangerous Kiko can be. Sometimes with one punch, he's got that sort of power, really tutting, like boom. He's like a bulldog, like a mini Tyson. I have now given him that nickname because he does fight quite similar. He doesn't really, yeah. I mean, all right, I'm not gonna go further into detail there. I mean, he can be pretty like he's always rather aggressive, but sometimes like against Galahad, he waits for the right opportunity. He was being outboxed first for 4 rounds, and then in the fifth, I mean five actually, it was at the end of the fifth that he finally landed that big punch. I believe it was a right hook. So anyway, he's rather he well, I would rather compare him to someone like David Tua because he used to do that sometimes. He would just plod around like for it could be 10, 11 rounds, 12 even, then suddenly you just explode and hit you with a big, big fucking shot that'll get you out of the game, of course. So I love Kiko Martinez because he's so unpredictable. Sometimes he's lost already, of course, 10 times. He's been stopped, you know, by Gary Allen Russell, for instance, by Leo Santa Cruz, Scott Quigg. That was a really, really devastating loss in only 2 rounds. But then he suddenly, just bounces back and when nobody really expected him to, and but still, uh, Josh Warrington, this fight means a lot for him. It will be a return, if he wins, he will recapture the title that he used to hold, right? It was the IBF, yeah. And if he loses again, that might be the end of it. He's already 31, and he's a really kind of fighters like him. They don't really last too long usually. Fighters who just go all out in every fight, don't take a backward step, and don't have a plan B. Really, that's his biggest problem. He doesn't really have a plan B. If he like we saw against Lara when his offense didn't work on Lara. And it's mainly because he doesn't have the power, right? To simply, Lara was simply too tough to let himself be like swarmed, just swarmed by Warrington. And then, shit hits the fan, as they say, and he starts to take punches and he gets stopped. That's what happened, of course. He is unable to come up with a backup plan. He's unable to take a step back and reassess the whole situation and start, come up with another strategy. He's simply poor at that. He's not made for such fighting. So he's like Ray Mancini for pretty much that kind of type. Iron Pryor, all those guys. But I guess even they knew better how to, defend themselves and come up with a plan B. So, I mean, if Warrington succeeds in keeping Martinez at bay, then he can, of course, win. And if he stays away from his biggest punches, those big hooks that Kiko throws, and he most likely wins because Kiko is not at this point now when he can win based on his he cannot win by outworking Workman, and few can do that. Outwork, just win by out throwing, out punching Workman because like a human whirlwind. So he just goes and goes at you until you had enough, So the best way for Kiko to fight is simply try to nail Warrington coming in, and not go for be so too aggressive anyway, because that will not work. I mean, all right, it can work maybe, but Warrington is simply younger, faster, and as I said, the best thing is to counter punch for Kiko. The best way to win, and the best way for Warrington to win is simply do what he always does: is just outwork his opponent and be faster and more aggressive. And yeah, simple as that. But yeah, I mean, unfortunately for the Warrington fans, I think the chance of him getting taken out again is not really small. It's rather big. But still, I think he's got also a good chance to win just because Kiko is like pretty worn out already and his legs aren't so good anymore. Like, he's like what, 36? Yeah, but he's like an old 36. It's more like 42, in reality. All right, so that my prediction is that Warrington most likely wins. I don't know why I'm laughing. He most likely wins some points in this one, but of course I can't see him also getting stopped if he gets too reckless and gets nailed with a big punch, of course, which might well happen. He can be like stopped in 7, 6, 7 rounds, 8 maybe. I don't know. All right, so he's Warrington's trainer better come up with a really good fight plan. Otherwise, this can be really like yeah, on dangerous ground. So with that, I am finished. So long, bye bye.